Sir, please, don't kiss her. She's trying to kill you.
As Ken the billionaire was about to kiss his wife Amanda, the maid Glory ran across the room and screamed, "Sir, please, don't kiss her. She's trying to kill you." Ken froze mid-lean, his lips inches from his wife's freshly painted red mouth. Amanda's eyes widened in shock. Amanda's anger filled the room as she ordered Ken, "Fire her right now. This girl has lost her mind." Ken froze in shock, his mind racing, trying to figure out what was currently happening. His maid, his wife. But Glory didn't back off. Her chest heaved, terror and determination written across her face. "Don't kiss her, sir." The lipstick she applied on her lip was meant to. If you're curious to know what the lipstick was meant for and what gave the maid the confidence to confront her bosses, subscribe right now because what led to this moment will shock you. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and your local time right now. Ken hadn't been born into wealth. He'd clawed his way up from nothing, transforming Port Harcourt's skyline one building at a time. At 32, his real estate empire was legendary. Luxury apartments in old GRA, commercial complexes and shopping centers that bore his name. His success was the kind that made Forbes Africa pay attention. But money, Ken had learned the hard way, couldn't buy the one thing he desperately wanted, his wife's genuine affection. Amanda was a vision of perfection, at least in public. At charity galas, she played her role flawlessly, gazing adoringly at Ken, her hand resting possessively on his arm, her designer dress catching every camera flash. She knew exactly when to laugh at his jokes, when to lean into him for photos, when to whisper something that looked intimate. But behind the closed doors of their waterfront mansion? That was a different story entirely. Ken would drag himself home after 18-hour workdays, his body aching, his mind exhausted, hoping, always hoping, that tonight would be different. Instead, he'd find her on the terrace, scrolling through fashion magazines, her face set in permanent annoyance. "I thought we could have dinner together tonight," Ken would say, trying to keep the desperation from his voice. "I already ate." Amanda wouldn't even look up. "Besides, I'm tired. We could watch a movie. Or just talk." "Ken, I have a headache. Can you not be so needy?" Needy. The word felt like a knife every time she used it. He tried everything. A diamond necklace from Paris. She wore it once. A Range Rover for her birthday. She complained about the color. Weekend trips to Dubai. She spent the entire time shopping alone while he sat in hotel rooms, wondering where his marriage had gone wrong. The worst part? She accepted everything with the enthusiasm of someone receiving junk mail. No spark in her eyes. No genuine smile. Just a bored, "Thank you," before returning to her phone. Ken's friends told him he was crazy. "You're a billionaire with a beautiful wife. What more do you want?" They'd laugh over drinks. What he wanted was simple, to feel loved by the woman who'd promised to love him forever. Another bad habit of Amanda's was her absolute refusal to lift a finger in their home. The mansion, a sprawling waterfront property in old GRA that had cost Ken millions of naira, was falling apart despite its beauty. "Amanda, the house needs attention," Ken would say gently, looking at the dust gathering on surfaces like snow. "Then you clean it," she'd snap back. "I didn't marry you to become a housemaid. This house is too big. Why did you buy such an impractical house anyway?" "I bought it for us. For our future family. Well, I can't be expected to manage all of this." Amanda would cut him off, waving her manicured hand dismissively. "Get someone to do it. That's what rich people do, Ken. Or do you want me to ruin my nails scrubbing floors?" Meanwhile, dishes piled in the sink, growing mysterious organisms. The marble floors lost their shine. The 12 bedrooms became storage for Amanda's endless shopping addiction. She complained constantly but refused to do anything herself. One evening, Ken found her in tears, actual tears, on the bedroom floor. "What's wrong?" He rushed to her side, alarmed. "Are you hurt?" "My nail," she wailed, holding up a perfectly manicured hand. "I broke my nail trying to move that stupid chair. Look at it. It's ruined." Ken stared at the tiny chip in her nail polish, then at the enormous bedroom with its king-size bed, walk-in closets, and ensuite bathroom that resembled a spa. His wife was crying over a broken nail while he worked himself to exhaustion. That night, he made a decision. "I'm hiring help, someone to handle the house," he announced over breakfast. For the first time in months, Amanda's eyes lit up. Finally, get someone who actually knows what they're doing. Someone who won't bother me. Glory arrived on a Tuesday morning, carrying everything she owned in a single worn bag and wearing her only good dress, a simple blue cotton dress she'd ironed 3 times that morning. At 24, she had the kind of face that told stories of hardship without needing words. Not beautiful in the magazine way Amanda was beautiful, but striking in her honesty. Her eyes held quiet determination, the kind that came from watching your father deteriorate in a hospital bed while medical bills piled up like accusations. Ken interviewed her himself in his home office. "Why do you want this position, Miss Glory?" Ken asked, after studying her resume. High school certificate, some community college courses she couldn't afford to finish, references from neighbors attesting to her character. Glory met his eyes directly. "My father has kidney disease, sir. He needs dialysis twice a week at the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital. Each session costs money we don't have anymore. My mother sells vegetables at Mile 1 Market, but it's not enough. My younger siblings need school fees. I'm willing to work hard, harder than anyone, for this opportunity." Her honesty struck something deep in Ken. He saw himself 15 years ago, hungry and desperate, willing to do anything to survive. Before the empire. Before Amanda. Back when he'd been real. "The job is yours," he said. "You start today." Glory's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, sir. I won't disappoint you." "I believe you," Ken said, and surprised himself by meaning it. Within 2 weeks, Glory transformed the mansion from neglected museum to actual home. She rose at 5 a.m. every morning, before even the security guards changed shifts. By the time Ken came downstairs at 7, breakfast was ready. Proper breakfast, not the sad coffee and toast he'd been making himself. Beans, cake and pap. Yam and egg sauce. Plantains fried to golden perfection. She moved through the house like a quiet storm, making everything right. Dust disappeared. Surfaces gleamed. The marble floors reflected light again. She organized Amanda's chaotic closets, turning them into boutique-worthy displays. She managed the garden, the pool maintenance, the grocery shopping, everything. But it was her cooking that became legendary. Glory cooked the way artists paint, with passion and precision. Her jollof rice was the kind people wrote poems about. Her egusi soup had the perfect consistency, the bitter leaf balanced with just enough palm oil. She taught herself international cuisine from library books, producing pasta dishes that tasted like they came from Italian restaurants, pastries that melted in your mouth. Ken started coming home for lunch. "Glory! Glory, come here!" he'd call from the dining room, his mouth full of her latest creation. "This jollof rice is incredible. Amanda, you have to try this. It's the best I've ever had." Amanda would barely glance at her plate, pushing the food around with her fork. "It's fine." But fine was never what Glory cooked. And with every compliment Ken gave the maid, Amanda's resentment grew like mold in darkness. Amanda found ways to make Glory suffer. She'd inspect rooms wearing white gloves like she was in a military barracks, running her fingers along surfaces, finding faults that didn't exist. "You call this clean? There's dust here. Do it again. All of it." She'd dump perfectly organized closets onto the floor. "These aren't arranged properly. I want them by color. No, wait, by season. Actually, by designer. You know what? Figure it out yourself. She'd schedule impossible tasks designed for failure. Clean all 12 windows before Ken gets home. That gives you 1 hour. Oh, and the chandelier needs dusting too. Glory endured it all quietly, her hands raw from cleaning solutions, her back aching from impossible tasks. Every night, she'd collapse in her small room off the kitchen, thinking about her father in the hospital, about the dialysis bills being paid on time now, about her siblings' school fees covered for the first time in years. And with all of this happening, she had no choice than handle Amanda's cruelty. But then Maurice arrived, and everything changed. "Glory, this is Maurice, my cousin from Lagos," Amanda announced one Thursday afternoon, her hand lingering too long on the tall man's shoulder, her voice dripping honey. "He'll be visiting regularly to help with some family business. Make sure he's comfortable. Bring drinks to the study when we call." "Of course, ma'am." Glory nodded politely, but something felt immediately wrong. Maurice was handsome in the obvious way. Tall, well-dressed, smooth-talking, with a kind of smile that looked practiced in mirrors. He looked at Amanda with hunger that had nothing to do with family affection. And Amanda! She transformed around him. The cold, bored woman who could barely acknowledge her husband became animated, laughing at Morris's jokes, touching his arm constantly, her eyes sparkling in a way Ken never got to see. Cousins didn't look at each other like that. Glory began noticing patterns that made her stomach turn. Maurice arrived every Tuesday and Thursday at exactly 10 a.m., 30 minutes after Ken left for his office. He'd stay until 3 p.m., always leaving just before Ken typically returned home. They'd disappear into the study with the door locked, and when Glory brought drinks as instructed, the silence before she knocked was too sudden, too suspicious. Cousins didn't text each other constantly and then hide their phones when interrupted. Cousins didn't disappear into studies for 3 hours with locked doors. One afternoon, Glory was bringing fresh towels to the upstairs bathroom when she passed the study. The door was slightly open, Amanda must have forgotten to lock it, and through the gap, Glory saw them. Maurice had Amanda pressed against the desk, their kiss deep and desperate and anything but familial. Amanda's designer dress was hiked up, Morris's hands tangled in her hair, and the sounds they made were unmistakable. Glory's stomach lurched. She backed away silently, her heart pounding so loud she was sure they'd hear it. She made it to the kitchen before her hands started shaking. Her mind raced. Should she tell Ken? But who would believe a maid over the billionaire's wife? Amanda would call her a liar, fire her, and maybe even have her arrested for slander. And then what would happen to her father? To her family? Glory decided to stay quiet. It wasn't her place to get involved in her employer's marriage, no matter how wrong it felt. But fate had other plans. 3 weeks later, Glory was cleaning the upstairs hallway on a Thursday evening. Ken had gone to Lagos for a 2-day business trip, and Amanda had invited Maurice over the moment Ken's car left the compound. Glory was polishing the wooden banister when she heard angry voices from Amanda's bedroom. The door was slightly ajar, and Morris's tone, sharp and frustrated, stopped her in her tracks. "We've been planning this for 8 months, Amanda. 8 months. I'm tired of waiting while you play house with that man. Keep your voice down." Amanda's hiss was venomous. "I told you, it has to look natural. No one can suspect anything." Glory's heart began to pound. Something told her to walk away, to pretend she'd heard nothing. But her feet wouldn't move. "The oleander extract poison is untraceable," Maurice continued, his voice calmer now but somehow more terrifying. "I've researched this for months. 3 drops on your lips before you kiss him goodnight. He'll have a heart attack within 6 hours. Given his long work hours, his stress levels, his age. No one will question it. The autopsy won't find anything unusual. Oleander poison mimics natural cardiac arrest perfectly. Glory's hand flew to her mouth, stifling a gasp. Her whole body went cold. And the documents are definitely ready? Amanda asked. Glory could hear the excitement beneath her attempt at caution. Already forged. Perfect copies. Once he's gone, you'll be the grieving widow who inherits everything. The company, the properties, the bank accounts, everything. We'll wait 6 months for appearances, then I'll comfort you through your grief. Another 6 months, we'll announce our relationship. A year after that, we marry. His empire becomes ours. What about the girl? Glory. She's always around. Maurice laughed coldly. A housemaid? Who would believe anything she says? Besides, she'll be so busy being questioned as a potential suspect, she prepares his food, after all, that by the time they clear her, will be long past any suspicion. Glory backed away slowly, her entire body trembling, her mind screaming. She made it to her room and locked the door, sliding down against it as the reality crashed over her. They were planning to murder Ken. To poison him and steal everything he'd built. Oleander extract poison. The name rang a bell from her community college botany class. A beautiful flowering plant with pink or white blooms. Common in big gardens. And deadly poisonous, every part of it, from roots to flowers. Glory's mind raced to the mansion's garden. There were oleander bushes right outside, their pink flowers pretty and innocent looking. She had to tell someone. But who? For days, Glory lived in terror. She had different thoughts coming to her mind of what to do. Should she tell Ken? But would he believe her? She was just a maid. Amanda was his wife of 7 years. He'd think she was lying, trying to cause trouble or extort money. Worse, Amanda would twist it somehow, maybe claim Glory was obsessed with Ken, jealous of their marriage. She'd be fired immediately. Her father would miss his dialysis. Her family would sink back into poverty. Should she go to the police? They'd ask for proof. What proof did she have? An overheard conversation? That wasn't evidence. They might even arrest her for making false accusations against prominent citizens. And, if she did nothing, a man would die. A good man who'd given her a job when she was desperate, who'd paid her father's medical bills, who treated her with respect and kindness. Glory became a shadow in the house, watching everything. She saw Maurice arrive with a small package on Tuesday, saw Amanda hide it in her jewelry box after he left. She noticed Amanda being unusually pleasant to Ken when he returned from Lagos, suggesting they spend quality time together. Maybe we could reconnect, Amanda told Ken one evening, her voice syrupy sweet, so different from her usual cold tone. I know I've been distant lately. I want to change that. I want us to be close again. Ken's face transformed with hope so pure it broke Glory's heart. Really? Amanda, I'd love that. I've missed you so much. I know, baby. Amanda touched his face gently, and Glory felt sick knowing those same hands were planning his murder. Let's have a romantic dinner this weekend. Just us. Like when we were first married. Glory wanted to scream right then. But she had no proof. Nothing but words she'd overheard. She spent those few days praying, thinking, and planning. She decided that when the moment came, if the moment came, she'd act first and deal with the consequences later. Her father's life, her family's survival, her own future. None of it mattered more than stopping a murder. Saturday evening arrived like an executioner. Ken had been in an unusually good mood all day. Amanda's sudden affection had given him hope that his marriage might be healing. He whistled while getting dressed, chose his best casual outfit, the one Amanda had complimented years ago, and even bought flowers on his way home from a brief morning meeting. "For you," he said, presenting them to Amanda with a shy smile. "I know I don't say it enough, but I love you. I'm so glad we're trying again." Amanda smiled, accepted the flowers, and immediately handed them to Glory. "Put these in water, would you?" Glory took the flowers with trembling hands, watching Amanda's eyes. Cold. Calculating. There was no love there, no remorse, nothing but greed wrapped in a pretty package. Glory prepared their dinner: pepper soup with fresh catfish, grilled tilapia with special sauce, fried plantains, and jollof rice. Her hands shook the entire time. She considered poisoning the food herself, something to make Ken sick so he'd go to the hospital, somewhere safe. But that could kill him too, or worse, make Amanda and Maurice accelerate their plans differently. She served dinner at 7 p.m. on the terrace, the entire dining painted gold and red. Ken and Amanda ate slowly, talking quietly. Glory couldn't hear their words from the kitchen, but she could see Ken's face, happy, hopeful, and completely unaware. After dinner, they moved to the sitting room. Glory cleared the dining table in slow motion, her ears straining for any sound from the next room. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Every muscle in her body was coiled tight, ready to spring. Then she heard Amanda's voice, sultry and inviting in a way that made Glory's skin crawl. "Ken, darling, come here. I want to show you how much you mean to me." Glory's head snapped up. Through the wide doorway connecting the dining room to the sitting room, she could see them. Amanda was standing near the window, the evening light behind her creating a halo effect that was almost ironic. She pulled out her lipstick, a deep red shade that looked too vibrant, too deliberately applied. Her hands trembled slightly as she painted her lips with slow, precise strokes. Glory's blood turned to ice. This was it. The moment. Amanda smiled at Ken, her freshly poisoned lips glistening. "I've been so foolish, pushing you away. Can you forgive me?" "Of course." Ken's voice was thick with emotion. He stood, walking toward his wife with the eagerness of a man starved for affection. "Amanda, I'd forgive you anything. I want to show you I mean it." Amanda tilted her face up, her lips parting slightly. "Kiss me. Like you used to." Ken reached for her, his eyes closing, leaning in toward those deadly red lips. Glory didn't think. She moved. "Don't kiss her." The scream tore from Glory's throat like something possessed. The plates in her hands crashed to the marble floor, exploding into hundreds of pieces. She ran across the room, her simple uniform dress flapping, her bare feet slapping against cold marble. She grabbed Ken's arm with both hands and yanked him backward with strength she didn't know she possessed. Ken stumbled, nearly falling, his eyes wide with shock. "Sir, please. Don't kiss her. She's trying to kill you." The world stopped. Ken stared at Glory as if she'd materialized from thin air. Amanda's face cycled through emotions: surprise, fear, then volcanic rage. "How dare you!" Amanda's shriek could have shattered windows. Her carefully applied lipstick made her look like a demon in that moment. "Ken, fire her right now. This girl has completely lost her mind. She's delusional." But Glory didn't let go of Ken's arm. Her chest heaved, tears streaming down her face. "The lipstick, sir. The lipstick is poisoned. Oleander extract. 3 drops. You'll have a heart attack within 6 hours. I heard them planning it, her and Maurice. He's not her cousin, sir. He's her lover. They've been planning this for 8 months. They want to kill you and take everything." The silence that followed was deafening. Ken's face had gone deathly pale. He looked at Amanda, really looked at her, and for the first time saw the panic in her eyes. "Amanda!" His voice was barely a whisper. Amanda laughed, but it sounded hollow, desperate. "This is insane. Ken, she's clearly been watching too many Nollywood films. She's probably been stealing from us and wants to create a distraction. Maurice is my cousin. Then why does your cousin kiss you like a lover?" Glory interrupted, her voice stronger now. "Why does he only visit when Mr. Ken is at work? Why do you disappear into the study for hours with the door locked? Why did I hear you both discussing forged inheritance documents 3 days ago when Mr. Ken was in Lagos?" Ken's face transformed from confusion to dawning horror. Details clicked into place. Morris's convenient visiting schedule, Amanda's sudden phone secrecy, the locked study door, her inexplicable kindness this past week. "No," he whispered. "No, Amanda. Tell me this isn't true." "She's lying." Amanda's voice cracked. "You're going to believe a housemaid over your wife? A girl you've known for 3 months over me?" Ken turned to Glory, his voice deadly quiet. "Where is this poison?" Glory met his eyes. "In her jewelry box, sir. A small glass vial. Maurice brought it on Tuesday afternoon in a black leather case." Without another word, Ken strode toward the stairs. Amanda chased after him, her heels clicking frantically on the marble. "Ken, wait. Let me explain. This is all a misunderstanding." But there was nothing to misunderstand. In Amanda's jewelry box, nestled beneath diamond necklaces and gold bracelets that Ken had bought her, beneath the Cartier watch and Tiffany earrings, sat a small glass vial filled with clear liquid. Ken held it up to the light with shaking hands. "What is this, Amanda?" I don't know. Maurice must have put it there. I didn't know it was. Don't lie to me anymore." Ken's voice thundered through the house, so loud that Glory flinched downstairs. "How long, Amanda? How long have you been planning to murder me?" Amanda's carefully constructed composure crumbled like a sandcastle in the tide. Tears streamed down her face. "You don't understand," she sobbed. "I never wanted this life. I never wanted you. Maurice and we were together first, before you came along with your money and your promises and your stupid, suffocating love." The words hit Ken like physical blows. "So you married me to kill me?" His voice was hollow, dead. "No. At first, I thought I could learn to love you. I tried, Ken. But you're so boring. So predictable. So needy with your constant, I love yous and your pathetic attempts to make me happy. Maurice excites me. He understands me. And when he suggested..." She stopped, realizing she'd said too much. "When he suggested killing me, you agreed." Ken finished the sentence. "How much of our marriage was real?" "Any of it." Amanda said nothing, which was answer enough. Ken called his lawyer first, then the police. While they waited, he made Amanda sit in the living room with Glory watching her like a prison guard. Amanda alternated between crying and glaring at the maid with pure, venomous hatred. "You've ruined everything," Amanda spat at Glory, her voice low and dangerous. "You stupid, interfering local girl. You've destroyed my life." Glory met her gaze steadily. "I saved a man's life. That's not ruin, ma'am. That's justice. Justice." Amanda laughed bitterly. "You have no idea what you've done. Do you think Ken will keep you around after this? You're a reminder of his biggest failure, trusting me. He'll fire you eventually, and then where will you be?" "At least I'll be able to sleep at night," Glory replied quietly. When the police arrived, they treated it with the seriousness it deserved. A billionaire nearly poisoned by his wife wasn't everyday Port Harcourt crime. They collected the vial carefully, photographing everything. They questioned Glory for 2 hours, recording every detail of what she'd overheard. They searched Amanda's phone and found encrypted messages to Maurice, hundreds of them, dating back 3 years. Maurice was arrested at his apartment that same night. He tried to run, actually made it to the stairwell before police tackled him. He shouted that Amanda had seduced him into it, that it was all her idea, that he was just a victim of her manipulation. Amanda, for her part, claimed Maurice had manipulated her, that she was just a vulnerable woman under his spell, that she'd never have agreed if he hadn't pressured her. Neither story held up under investigation. The evidence was overwhelming and damning. Text messages detailing their affair dating back 3 years, not 8 months as Glory had overheard, but 3 entire years of deception. Financial records showing Maurice's mounting debts, gambling losses, bad investments, a lifestyle he couldn't afford. Records showing Amanda's expensive tastes draining Ken's accounts for designer clothes, jewelry, trips she'd claimed were visiting friends. The oleander vial with both their fingerprints all over it. Laboratory analysis confirming it was concentrated cardiac glycosides extracted from oleander plants, enough to kill 3 men, let alone 1. Forged documents found in Maurice's apartment. Inheritance papers with Ken's signature expertly copied, property transfer deeds, bank authorization forms, even a fake will leaving everything to Amanda. Most damning, a recorded phone call between Maurice and a contact in Lagos discussing making it look natural and cardiac glycosides being undetectable. They'd planned everything meticulously, but they'd never counted on a housemaid with a conscience. The trial lasted 6 months and became Nigeria's most watched legal drama. Media camped outside the Port Harcourt High Court daily. Headlines screamed, "Billionaire's wife planned perfect murder. Housemaid hero saves the day." Glory testified for 8 hours over 2 days. Defense lawyers tried to paint her as a jealous maid with delusions, as someone who'd fabricated the entire story for attention or money. "Isn't it true," Maurice's lawyer asked with a sneer, "that you harbored romantic feelings for Mr. Ken? That you invented this story to remove his wife from the picture?" Glory looked him straight in the eye. "Sir, I harbored one feeling for Mr. Ken, gratitude. He gave me a job when my father was dying. He treated me with respect. When I saw him about to be murdered, I acted. If that makes me jealous, then I'm proud to be jealous." The courtroom burst into applause. The judge had to call for order. Amanda's lawyer tried a different approach, the battered woman defense. Amanda took the stand in a simple dress, tears streaming, claiming Maurice had threatened her, controlled her, and forced her into the plot. "I was terrified," she sobbed. "He said he'd hurt my family if I didn't cooperate." But the prosecution destroyed that narrative in minutes. They showed shopping receipts. Amanda had spent 12 million naira on clothes and jewelry in the past year alone. They showed her social media, filled with happy photos with Maurice at expensive restaurants and hotels while Ken was working. They played recordings of Amanda discussing the murder plot with enthusiasm, not fear. "Does this sound like a terrified woman?" the prosecutor asked, playing a clip, Amanda's voice. "Once we have the money, we can finally live the life we deserve. No more pretending with that boring man. No more playing the dutiful wife. Just us, Maurice, and all of Ken's money." The jury heard it all. 6 months after that Saturday evening, the verdicts came down. Maurice, guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, fraud, and forgery. 20 years in prison. Amanda, guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, fraud, forgery, and as the primary beneficiary and instigator, aggravated circumstances. 25 years in prison. When the judge read the sentence, Amanda screamed. Not tears of remorse, but rage, pure, unbridled rage at being caught. "This isn't fair," she shrieked as guards restrained her. "I gave him 7 years. 7 years of my life. I earned that money." Ken sat in the gallery, his face expressionless. He didn't cry. He didn't react. He just stood and walked out while Amanda was still screaming. Ken stood outside the Port Harcourt High Court, cameras flashing like lightning strikes. Reporters shouted questions, microphones thrust toward his face like weapons. "Mr. Ken, how does it feel to be betrayed by your wife? Did you suspect anything? How does it feel knowing you almost died? Will you ever trust again?" Ken answered none of them. His security team held the press back as he walked to where Glory waited by his car, away from the media circus. She dressed simply for the verdict, a modest blue dress, her hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked tired. The trial had been exhausting for her too, with her integrity questioned daily, her motives dissected by strangers. "Thank you," Ken said simply, his voice rough with emotion. Glory shook her head. "I just did what was right, sir." "Call me Ken," he corrected her gently. "Just Ken. And what you did was more than right. It was brave. You risked everything, your job, your father's treatment, your family's security, to save my life. I'll never forget that." He handed her an envelope. Glory opened it, her eyes widening. "Your father's medical bills are fully paid, for life," Ken explained. "I've also purchased a house for your family in a good area of Port Harcourt. Your siblings' education through university is covered. And I'm promoting you to estate manager of all my properties. You'll oversee household operations for my entire portfolio, with a salary of 2 million naira monthly." Glory's hands shook. "Sir, Ken, I can't accept all this. It's too much." "It's not enough," Ken said firmly. "You gave me my life back. You showed me what real integrity looks like. You're the kind of person I want running my operations, someone who'll do the right thing even when it costs them everything." Tears spilled down Glory's cheeks. "I don't know what to say. Say you'll accept. Say you'll help me rebuild." She nodded, unable to speak. As they drove away from the courthouse, Ken looked at the Port Harcourt skyline, the buildings he'd built, the empire he'd constructed from nothing. He'd been so focused on creating wealth that he'd missed the poison growing in his own home. But he'd also been blessed with something more valuable than all his properties combined. Someone honest enough, brave enough, to risk everything for truth. "Glory," he said as they drove through the city, "I've learned something through all this." "What's that, sir, Ken?" "Money builds empires. But character saves lives." Glory smiled through her tears. "My father used to say something similar. Wealth can be stolen, but integrity is yours forever." Ken nodded, feeling something shift in his chest. For the first time since Amanda's arrest, he felt hope. Not hope for romance or marriage. That would take years to even consider, but hope that goodness still existed in the world. Hope that doing the right thing still mattered. Hope that he could trust again, even if it took time. 6 months after the trial, Ken stood on his mansion's terrace, the same terrace where Amanda used to ignore him while scrolling through magazines. The view hadn't changed, the Port Harcourt waterfront, the glittering lights, the empire he'd built. But everything else had changed. Glory appeared with his dinner. She still insisted on cooking for him personally despite her new position. "Pepper soup and plantain, sir. Your favorite." "Glory," Ken said, accepting the tray. "I've been thinking." "About what?" "About that night. When you screamed. You could have walked away. You could have let it happen and claimed ignorance. No one would have blamed you." Glory was quiet for a moment. "My father taught me something when I was young. He said, 'Glory, wealth and poverty are temporary. But the choices you make when no one's watching, those define your soul forever.' When I saw you about to kiss her, I wasn't thinking about my job or money or anything. I just knew I couldn't let you die." Ken felt his throat tighten. "Your father raised you right." "He did. And now, thanks to you, He'll live to see his grandchildren." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over Port Harcourt. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't acted?" Ken asked. "Every day," Glory admitted. "I think about how Amanda and Maurice would be spending your money right now. How they'd have gotten away with it. How evil would have won. But it didn't. No, sir. It didn't. Because sometimes, one person's courage is enough to change everything." If this story moved you, smash that subscribe button right now. Share this video with someone who needs to hear about real courage. And drop a comment telling me what you learned from this video. Let's talk about it. Thanks for watching. Until next time, remember, character saves lives.